We have been waiting so long to see this as Ivan Demidov just shows off his game-breaking skill again, and also seeing the Montreal Canadiens back on the ice, a bunch of them for the first time in a while, including Nick Suzuki and Patrik Laine practicing one-timers. We got Jayden Struble, we got Arber, Xhekaj, we got Alex Newhook, a bunch of people out on the ice. We've been waiting so long to see him out there, but we don't have to just dive into what they were doing, and some very interesting things there with Suzuki and Laine, but also a big update on Jayden Struble's contract as his arbitration date has officially been said and what that means for his contract and his future with the Habs. That plus a bunch of other great stuff coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And actually, Jesse, we're going to start here with a very interesting statistic courtesy of Data Driven Hockey on Instagram, and it is a list of the top 10 best finishers in the league. Now, there's an advanced stat called expected goals, and then there's the very advanced stat called goals. And anyway, this right here is all of the players who scored more goals than their expected goals this year, as in they get to a spot where most players don't score and they do score. And who else but Nick Suzuki? You might have thought Cole Caufield. No, over the last 3 seasons, Jesse, Nick Suzuki is 9th on this list behind the likes of only Cairo McCann, Jason Robertson, Panarin, Tage Thompson, Braden Point, and Leon Draisaitl. What does this tell you about Nick Suzuki's finishing? Because I think people very much underrate him as a goal scorer at this point.
Love to see Nick Suzuki with really some of the best goal scorers in the league, right where he really deserves to be. Nice to see, Josh, quite a few Habs players kind of finishing quite nicely in these kind of postseason analytics takes here. Very interesting to note. And again, showing why Nick Suzuki is one of the most effective hockey players in the league. He really makes the most out of his opportunities. Again, maybe a little bit surprising to not see Caufield on this list of where he scores often, like so low by that goal line there that he still finds a way. I think we'll probably start seeing him a little bit there more in the future. But again, Nick Suzuki, the man of the hour right now. Like, he scores, he set up plays, he plays defense, he kills penalties. He really does it all on the ice, and just so amazing to see him getting his love. And again, you have to feel as this Montreal Canadiens team just continues to improve, it's going to continue to kind of climb up that list. It's so amazing to see Nick Suzuki, who's been criminally underrepresented for such a long time on a lot of these lists. It's finally starting to happen. I mean, he just needed to be that well over a point per game player plus. Obviously drag this team to the playoffs as such a young guy. I mean, he needed to do a lot, but I mean, he's getting his flowers now as a result.
Oh, yes, sir, he is. And I'm so happy to see it because that 1C talk is no longer a question. Everyone is saying he is a 1C, no doubt. I mean, that argument's borderline tired at this point, which just shows you how much respect he's been getting lately. And people are coming around. You're seeing him show up on every list, a best finishers list, when there's guys like Tage Thompson, Braden Point, Draisaitl, Pastrnak right around him. Like, there's some unbelievable stuff there. It's not like just last season, it's the last 3 years. And again, this guy 30 goals, 33 goals, 26, 89 goals over the last 3. So cool to see him there. Leave your thoughts on that down below, and we do have some more Nick Suzuki stuff to talk about in the bit, as him and Laine were doing some interesting stuff at this skate around in Brassard. But before we get to that, we got to talk a bit about Jayden Struble. And Jesse, we've been talking a lot about the D-core this year, as we have 7 very solid defensemen this year, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be a battle between Struble and Xhekaj for that final position. Now, Struble, again, was one of the guys who was out there skating on the ice today, and, you know, he was out there with the boys. But the big thing today was that Puckpedia tweeted this out, and it was confirmed that Jayden Struble's arbitration date will be August 3rd. Now, there's some of these other guys, like Capo Caco, which is coming in just a few days. Nick Robertson from the Leafs, though, and Jayden Struble from Montreal, both on August 3rd. Now, there's a lot of optimism that Jayden Struble will extend before that date. That's pretty much the consensus, and that's usually what happens with pretty much every guy like this. They don't get to arbitration very often because it just kind of breaks ties, and eventually, if it gets there, they often leave. But Jesse, to know that Jayden Struble, his date now is coming. We're like 2 weeks away from this happening. I mean, not even, about 2 weeks away. Like, still very, very close. What do you think it is with him? Like, do you see them extending him before getting there? I'm very optimistic for it, but hey, I think the question comes down to, is it the money or is it the term that they're disagreeing on? Because if it's like, if he wants a longer term deal, I'm just not so sure Montreal would be willing to bend and break before they get there, but I am optimistic.
For sure. And again, it would be interesting to see him kind of asking for that, just knowing like how stacked really our D-core is right now. That being said, Jayden Struble and the type of depth, like a prospect that that the Habs were able to develop and pan down to like a good NHLer, like it matters. Having that type of depth on the line in the lineup is really important. So again, I really like this player. I hope it gets resolved because, as you mentioned, often when it does go to arbitration, it's not a good sign for kind of a long-term type of relationship there. That being said, maybe that's why I feel this is definitely obviously being more instigated by Struble, because you have to feel like he maybe feels like the way that the defense is so stacked here in Montreal with Reinbacher coming up, guys like Engstrom, he feels like probably the writing's on the wall that he's going to probably be going somewhere else before we know it. Even though we like this player, I think he's probably just being very realistic about the situation, maybe getting a little bit cheeky probably in terms of both the term and the AAV that he's really asking there as a result. Because I mean, even for like Struble to get in the lineup this year, there's going to be an interesting battle between both Xhekaj and Struble to really see that there's one spot that's up for contention with the decor as it is, and it's definitely going to be up to him and Struble. Again, though, only 23 years of age, important note, 6 feet, plays a simple, effective game, is a physical specimen, has always produced through the roof on all amounts of physical testing, which is a really great litmus test of just, is this guy have the athletic capabilities to be an NHL or not? He clearly is, and that's his baseline is of really a really depth third pairing type of guy. I don't know how much more of his ceiling is really higher than that, but I think that's okay. Like Struble's like a type of like ideal third pairing. Like you just know what type of game he's going to play, what he's going to do. So I hope that we can kind of figure some things out going here forward. But I think Struble's just kind of reckoning. He knows with all this competition that probably his long-term future in the NHL probably lies outside of Montreal.
And that's the tough part there, because I'm sure he wants to stick around to some extent, but like again, if he wants a longer term deal to secure his future, there might be teams that are willing to do that, and maybe it's not Montreal. And we haven't really floated his name as a trade candidate because I still don't really think he is like a likely one, but you never really know. Again, with Reinbacher coming up, there's going to be a lot of guys fighting for these spots. Even Adam Engstrom looks to be pretty promising too. Now, they don't fill that physical role, well, Reinbacher could, but that Struble has. It's interesting. What do you make of this? His arbitration date's coming soon, so we'll have an answer sooner than later, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But we got to get to the moment of the hour here, Jesse, because we're finally seeing, we've been waiting for this for so long to just see more than a couple people on the ice at once. Yes, Laine Hutson never leaves the ice. Ivan Demidov never leaves the ice. But now you got Suzuki, Laine, Demidov, Newhook, Xhekaj, and Struble all out there with a couple of invited goalies. And this was really cool to see. And we'll just roll the clips here. I mean, before we get to Ivan, I want to talk about maybe the second thing here. Because Ivan, man, that is something to behold. But right here, Suzuki and Laine practicing these one-timers. Now they are just messing around. Laine fans on it there, just kind of throwing it to each other. But this got me thinking, Jesse, again, when we're talking about this next season for Montreal, I think a lot of us have locked in on Ivan Demidov being that first power play guy. Our boy Demigod coming in, he played so well in the playoffs on the youngest power play unit I have seen in my life. But now, Suzuki and Laine, I'm seeing some people now project Laine higher in the lineup after this. I'm not gleaning that much from this. I'm not saying Laine is going to be a first-line player like I've seen jokingly thrown out there on social media. But do you think that there's a world, Jesse, where Patrik Laine still starts the year on power play 1 over a guy like Ivan Demidov, or maybe even over a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky, as crazy as that might be to say?
Or Caufield. Yeah. I don't think that he's going to start on the PP1. I think that Caufield, just given last year and kind of that goodwill, that Caufield will probably get that nod on the PP1. That being said, it's not a huge stretch of the imagination here if Martin St. Louis decides to put Laine on that PP1, given that that's his specialty, of course, and he might be getting that memo from Habs brass of like, we're playing this player a fair amount of money. This is probably the best way on the PP1 to get the most money out of him. I could get that conversation. I just think how good our PP2 is going to be, that he's going to have players where he's still going to be effective. I would love to see that world. And if he's just like lights out on PP2, I think there's no choice but bringing Laine up. But I think that could be maybe a solid motivation just to get his game up. Just, maybe you don't get PP1. You need to kind of work to that going forward. Josh, I'm just happy to see Patrik Laine out on the ice, because if there's one thing we know about him, it's that his talent is undeniable, of course. Yeah. You then pair that with him being out on the ice and practicing, and that's where the magic happens. Like Patrik Laine is talented, put a little bit of that work behind the scenes, not trying to throw shade like he never does that, but just saying, I think that's the missing link. And that's why in the middle of summer, where a guy likes to spend a lot of time in Florida, like this matters to me a lot, because if he can just bring that work ethic along with that talent and just like putting in that practice, putting in that work, I think everything just comes together for the Habs, and he becomes that ideal player that we so dearly want him to be. Like, don't make no mistake. Like, we want to see Patrik Laine succeed in Montreal. We know how effective he can be if he does really take that ownership and really become that best version of himself. That being said, are there some impediments to making that happen? Yes, and a big part of that, though, is Patrik Laine just getting out of his own way. He's really his own worst enemy, because we know with that talent, if he's just going to put in the work, maybe it's the effect of having guys like Demidov, like Hutson around, Suzuki just kind of drag him into the rink. Like, I absolutely just love to see it. And for sure with injuries, there's going to be different iterations of the power play. So I think it makes sense just for sure that they're practicing that there together. But I would really like to see Patrik Laine, earn that PP1 when it comes time for it in the fall.
Yeah, I think that's what he's probably going to have to do. I mean, there's going to be a lot of talk about special teams, because that's going to be not a make or break for this team this year. But again, keeping a good penalty kill like we did last year, plus having an even better power play than last year, which by all signs, like, there's no way our power plays are going to be worse. Not with the additions we've made offensively with like a Noah Dobson, a Zach Bolduc, right? Kirby Dach coming back maybe for a full season. So all this kind of stuff is leading to a good power play, but it doesn't mean spots are just going to be given. So very interesting there. Like, I like the idea of Patrik Laine being great, but again, like, part of me, Jesse, is like, yeah, as much as Laine might deserve this spot, there's another guy that might just straight up deserve it too, right? And like, when you see guys like Ivan Demidov coming out there, and he's going to be this main competition on power play 1, I would imagine this year, right? Like, he's the one who came out there. He won the shootout contest at the end of this year. I mean, just insanely filthy hands, right? And again, like, we've been talking about guys that could come in and be game breakers, right? Since like we started this channel talking about the rebuild, before we even drafted guys like David Reinbacher or Ivan Demidov, we're talking about how do we get that kind of next level talent and game breaking talent. And not only is it awesome to see these guys on the ice, to see these filthy hands from Ivan Demidov, but also to know that like this guy is legitimately going to push multi-year veterans in the NHL who have scored 40-goal seasons. He might be in competition to push them off the power play. And we're seeing people project that he's going to go out there and get 60, 70, 80 points this year. As crazy as that is, just the fact that we're seeing this in front of our eyes, and every single time, Jesse, that he takes the ice, he does something like this. Like, it's not just once in a blue moon. Let's have a little shootout competition. Yeah, I win. Get out off the ice, the rest of you. I don't know. I get really excited every time I see stuff like this.
Yeah, again, the talent from Demidov is just the complete, game changer in all this. And again, I loved his attack, like his angle of attack on this breakaway. It's basically like for me, this is like a perfect shootout goal. Like his angle, he's starting on the left, then he kind of comes, he's a little bit more neutral center of the ice with the goalie, only to finish on that right-hand side. Just like his angles of attack, he's really coming at the goalie from all different sides, not allowing them to quite get set. It's a masterclass with that toe drag. So deceptive of what is he just going to straight rip it from there? But then again, how he's able to reach and kind of bring it onto his backhand. Absolutely unreal, just the amount of skill that we're seeing right now. Nick Suzuki is obviously amazing in the shootouts, but this is something that we want to improve on. The Habs is a team that gets to a lot of overtime games, a lot of shootouts, but having a Demidov in the lineup, this is what's now going to allow us to win those games. Those 1 point that we left a lot on the table, especially 2 years ago, but even last year, still quite a bit. Demidov is going to be that huge game changer just to really make this happen. Amazing to see him putting that practice on the ice, because what I'm seeing right now is just absolutely special and is really bordering on perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be unbelievable to see the competition come training camp, because that's what I'm most excited for. Who's going to slot where? What are the lines going to be? Who's going to be on special teams? Seriously, most of this stuff is still undecided, minus maybe the first line. But I also want to give a shout out to Patu Info and Frank Lowell Hockey Podcast. I'll link the profile where all these videos came from. They were at the Brossard facility, because I want you guys to go check it out. Go give them credit they deserve as well. But hey, they're getting us hyped, and we really appreciate it. But leave us your thoughts on all this stuff that we talked about today, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, hit that free subscribe button, guys. You guys have been supporting like crazy every day, even in the dead times of your dog days of summer. We're still here. We still got Habs content coming every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.